Welcome back everyone. We're going to be talking about the Apple TV 4th generation, the 2015 model, and seeing how it holds up in 2020. Now, Apple TV is kind of a cool concept. I like Apple TVs, obviously, they're really cool. I just reviewed the Apple TV 4K and I think they kind of bring a lot to the table, but they've just been out for so long that it's so funny that I'm just now talking about them as if they're a new device. This specific one, I believe, came out in 2015 and the 4K model came out a couple of years after, and there's supposed to be a new one coming out soon. The cool thing about the Apple TVs, if you guys don't know, is that they actually use Apple's A chips, so the same chipsets that are in iPhones, they actually put them in their Apple TVs. So the Apple TV, the one we're talking about now, has the Apple A chip, which is the same one as the iPhone 6, which is not really a good thing. The Apple TV 4K had the same chipset as the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, the A10X Fusion chip, but we're not talking about the 4K right now, we're talking about the 4th gen. Now on Amazon, the prices, these things have kind of decreased in prices since they came out. The Apple TV HD, which is the one we're talking about, is about $149 on Amazon, and they have thousands of reviews, and people are, love this thing. It's like almost a 5-star review, which is pretty insane. What I will say though is that the Apple TV 4K is $179, so I would probably recommend picking that one up just because it's newer, it's faster, and has better chipsets. So I'll leave both linked down in the description. If you want to pick them up, you can pick them up from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now with the Apple TV, I'm sure a lot of you guys already know kind of what the build-up is. But pretty much what it is that it's just a streaming box, which is, has its own operating system, tvOS. And that's one thing I like about Apple TV is that they have their own software built in. And a lot of these other streaming boxes like Roku and even Chromecast and stuff, they're good. Their software is pretty decent. But the thing is that they don't necessarily get software updates like tvOS gets. These are full-blown operating systems, which makes this thing feel more than just a streaming device, which, first time I booted it up, I never even saw an Apple TV layout before. I never knew what the UI was before I plugged in my Apple TV 4K, and I was pretty blown away. The whole system was responsive. It looked really, really nice. All the apps are reminding me so much of iOS. And at the end of the day, it really, really blew me away. And I really do think, it didn't even matter if I was a fan of Android or Apple. The system just looked really, really nice. Now with this one, with the 4th gen, it still is pretty much the exact same thing as the 4K one in my opinion. The layout looks almost exactly the same and everything like that, which is not a bad thing. The layout looks really, really good. This thing, for the time being, is still getting software updates too, which is kind of funny because the iPhone 6, which had the same chipset as this, is not getting software updates anymore. So that's kind of a weird thing. I don't really understand why they do that, but it is what it is. Now the main difference with this one and a lot of other streaming devices is that this one can only stream up to 1080p, which might be a big deal to some people, it might not be, but I think it's kind of in the middle. We're in this day and age where 1080p is still fine. I don't really care that much right now, and I'm sure a lot of people don't really care, but pretty soon, we're in 2020, I'm sure in the next year or two, 4K is going to become the standard. Samsung Galaxy S20, I know this is a weird example, but that phone can shoot 8K videos. Samsung kind of knows the future, and they also make 8K TVs and stuff like that, so I think they know where the standard's going. Even when I go to Best Buy and places, very rarely do I see 1080p displays anywhere. They're usually 4K or 1440p, at least for monitors. So I think for this one, it's good. It'll still work on those monitors, but everything will just basically be downscaled to 1080p, which, like I said, is not a big deal. It's not a big deal to me, but it might be a big deal to you, especially if you're trying to get that much quality and trying to get the best quality out of certain things. This thing might not be the best option for you. Like I said, you might want to go for the 4K model, which is the more expensive one by $20. Now looking on the top of this thing, this is probably where I started. First of all, the remote. I like the remote. I don't have the one specifically for this one. I have the older style one, but that newer one looks really, really good. You have that Siri button and everything, which is really, really nice. On the top, you can see we have the Apple TV logo, which is cool. And it's not a humongously thick machine, but it's on the bigger side. I think the 4K one was a little bit smaller, but I really don't even remember. Now on the back, this is where things get interesting. So we have the AC adapter to plugging this thing into the wall and everything. We have an Ethernet port, which is cool if you want to do a standard manual internet. This thing also has Wi-Fi though, so keep that in mind. It's not like you only have that option. You also have a USB Type-C port, which is really cool. And you also have the HDMI port. Now that USB Type-C port, I'm pretty sure it's a Thunderbolt port, and that is a really, really cool thing. So we have that capability of doing that on here. And it's funny because at this point in 2015, I don't know if we had any Apple devices that had USB-C. Maybe the 2015 MacBook, that could be the only one, like the 12-inch one. So this could have possibly been one of the only Apple devices at that time that had USB Type-C. I don't even think the Mac Mini had it. I could be totally wrong though. But this thing, I think when I hold it and when I mess with it, it still feels like a very, very premium machine. But the thing is, you're not going to be using it. You're not going to be holding it every day. You're just going to be kind of putting it somewhere and leaving it to be, you know what I mean? So now in terms of the future ability of this Apple TV, like I said, I think everyone kind of knows how this thing works. It's pretty much, like I said, a streaming device. You have things like Apple Arcade, you have Apple TV Plus and different things like that, which Apple's trying to get you more, I guess, into their ecosystem. And I think it's a cool thing. But like I said before, I mean, I don't know how many people are actually sitting there and wanting to have a dedicated thing like a streaming box like this. I think if people want to go and, like if you have a smart TV, for example, which is something that I already have things like Netflix and YouTube and Hulu and things like that already built into the TV. So if you have like a really expensive screen that you bought many, many years ago, that's not a smart TV, like it's a 4K panel and it costs you thousands and thousands of dollars at that time, then this little thing, the $150 machine, can actually help you out in making that thing feel a little bit more up to date. And if you have a outdated TV and you don't want to buy a whole new TV just because it's a smart TV or whatever, this can be a pretty decent option for you. And I think it can actually help out quite a bit of people. I've seen a lot of people pick these things up because they're in that specific situation. You don't necessarily want to buy a brand new TV just because it's a smart TV. Why do that when you can just buy an Apple TV or this 32 gig 4th generation? I think that still holds a lot of merit to a lot of people. And for that reason, I think this could be a pretty decent option for those specific people. I think for the people, like I said, who maybe just don't want to sit on their computers and just watch laptop YouTube videos or Netflix, you now have that option of, and didn't just come out now, but you have that really cool ability of broadcasting those shows, broadcasting that Netflix on a TV that's unsupported with smart TV. And I think that's a really cool thing for a lot of people instead of them buying a brand new TV. However, someone like me who actually does have a smart TV, it really doesn't make too much sense to buy this thing. There's one reason why there might be, and I'll talk about that in a second. But for the majority of the features of this thing, I can normally get them from my smart TV. I can look at YouTube videos, Netflix. Some things that I am missing though are, first of all, Apple Arcade and Apple TV Plus. I kind of need an Apple TV in order to, stream those things. I think I can get them from my MacBook or something, but as a whole, I would have to be, having an Apple TV of some sort in order to watch those things, which to me is not a big deal. I mean, that's a little sacrifice. I already have this thing, so I'm already okay with it. But for some people, maybe they don't want to go out and buy a certain machine. That could totally make a lot of sense to me. So for that reason, that kind of makes a little bit more sense. But the main reason and the one thing why I really, really like Apple TVs is more than just a streaming box or anything. They're like an AirPlay machine. So if you have something that you want to broadcast to a lot of people, if you want to show a bunch of photos or you want to show a bunch of videos or you're working on a project and you want to, send that project to, a team and they want to watch it on the screen, instead of uploading it to Google or uploading it to YouTube and then typing it in on the TV or something, or plugging in your HDMI port and do all that stuff, you can just wirelessly send it to the Apple TV and have it play to the Apple TV instead of you doing that from your computer or something, or plugging it into an HDMI port. And that might seem like not a big deal, or plug it in or whatever, but I'm sure it helps in the fact of just quickly getting things done and just kind of, if you're in the same spot, you don't have to get up. Like, it seems kind of archaic in a way. So in that sense, I really like the Apple TV for that, for sending things up to the specific Apple TV, the 4th generation, going through that way. And that's more of like a business sense. Like, I don't think anybody's really doing that on a daily basis unless you have a business or something. So I think that's actually really decent. I think there's a lot of merit in that. But I think if you have a smart TV, this thing probably doesn't make too much sense unless you're already immersed in Apple Arcade, if you're immersed in Apple TV Plus and different things like that. Now, the thing with this specific thing is that with the 4th gen, you'll only set it for 32 gigabytes. And the Apple TV 4K only has 64 gigs, which is really not that much, to be honest. You should probably have gotten more. They should have pushed out more for this day and age. I mean, that's not really that a lot, to be honest. But it does get the job done. And like I said, it's a streaming box. You're not necessarily downloading like crazy things. But with Apple Arcade, I think you do download a couple of things here and there, which is kind of a weird thing, you know what I mean? And for some reason with my Apple TV 4K, I downloaded some apps, but I wasn't able to get them working, which was really, really strange. So I wasn't too sure what was going on there. It's not really that big of a deal, but like I said, the UI is the same, the layout is the same as the 4K. It's just the 4K upscales everything to 4K. So to kind of answer the question, is the Apple TV 4th generation still worth it in 2020? I'll say, yeah. I mean, I think it's worth it to some people out there. I think for the majority of people, if you already have a smart TV, like I've stated for the billionth time, I don't really think it's worth it in 2020. I don't think it's really worth it to those people anyway, just because you already have those ability on that smart TV. But if you already have a really expensive TV you bought a while ago that doesn't have the smart TV capabilities, you can't connect to Wi-Fi or anything like that, I really think, if you want to, brush up your setup, getting an Apple TV would actually help make that TV feel like a smart TV, which is really, really cool. And don't sleep on the features of like Netflix and Hulu and YouTube already built into the TV. Like those things really does make, especially if you're somebody who watches a lot of TV, those things can make a better experience for your, media consumption on your TV. So what I'll tell you is, if you want the Apple TV, I would recommend at least getting the 4K if you want it. This 1080p one is good too. It's pretty much the same thing. But the 4K one will definitely last you longer in my opinion. So that's really pretty much it. Like I said, if you want to purchase either the HD one or the 4K one, links will be down in the description below. Let me know how you guys enjoyed the video, if you want me to keep doing all the Apple TVs so that I have every single one of them. So I'll review them if you guys want to, but hit that like button if you guys enjoyed the video, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count. So it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.